Hi everyone, Karen in here from the Cut at Home design team. Today I'm going to be introducing you to some of my favorite techniques in stamping. I love to stamp and I've been at it for quite a long time, and so I want to just share with you some of my love for stamping. Cut at Home carries a lot of different brands of stamps. Most of them are the clear stamps like this from Penny Black, this Betsy Bluebell. Which basically means you can see through them, but they also carry the red rubber stamps like these from Stampers Anonymous. They carry Lawn Fawn, Elizabeth Craft Designs. There's a whole bunch of different brands. And so today I'm going to show you some of my techniques with primarily these two, but I also have this old big background stamp, and there's some special things about bigger stamps that I want to share with you. To start off with, I used the Betsy Bluebell stamp set, and I started a card using some Heartfelt Creations Majestic Morning paper here. And I have this little strip that I want to put one of the sentiments on. Putting sentiments on straight is one of my challenges, and with the clear stamps it's actually pretty easy because you can see where they just go on straight. But if you don't have a clear stamp, and I'm going to show you a technique as if this wasn't a clear stamp. You can use a stamp positioner, and they come in all sorts of different flavors. This is a very inexpensive version from Inkadinkado. It's called a Stamp-majig, I think. I have two sizes of acrylic blocks that I use quite a bit. This one is from Close to My Heart. This one, I went to a glass store here in town and asked them to give me some of their excess plexiglass, and they did, and we cut it up, and now I have a block. So with this stamp positioner, what you do is you ink up your stamp and stamp it onto this acrylic sheet that comes with it. And it's always straight up, straight down to stamp. Make sure that's nice and tight there in the corner. And then you know where that stamp is going to go. And you bring over your little piece of paper, and I want it to go about right there. And then you just line that back up, and when you lift away the plastic, you can stamp directly onto the paper, again straight up, straight down, and it goes exactly where you want it to go. I love my stamp positioner and I use it quite often. When I stamped the image, it's this image here, I stamped it onto white cardstock first, and then I cut it, and I actually cut the balloons off and stamped them a second time and just glued them on, so that way your stamping can go off the page a little bit first. One of the tips that I use is I always stamp first and cut second, and then that way you can see exactly where you're going to cut and everything lines up properly. I'll finish this card off just by putting the sentiment on there and the image there, and then it's a thank you card. See, is there anything? Oh, this is colored, by the way, with my chameleon pens that I got at Cut at Home. I absolutely love them. Another technique that I like to use sometimes is to actually draw onto the stamp with my distress markers. And so this is the new Stampers Anonymous Tim Holtz Wildflower collection. And I'm just going to take out one of the flowers here, and I think I want to use this little one here. I always select a block that won't allow, that will make it so that my stamp doesn't go off the edge. That's really important. You need to have that firm backing on the stamp. I'm using Mowed Lawn and Blueprint Sketch to color this. And basically I color it right onto the stamp. And you don't need to be super careful. Just make sure you get that surface inked up there. I'm going to color all of the flowers blue. like so. Oops, I think that may be a leaf, but that's okay. It'll be a flower for now. And give this one this flower, and then I'm going to color the stems. There's another little flower with my mowed lawn. And I go ahead and cross, make sure that it's fully inked. I cross that just a little bit. It'll blend right there at the edge. Okay. Once you color that on there, the Distress ink stays wet for quite a while, but I call it huffing, and I blow some hot air onto it to make sure that it's nice and wet. And then same technique, straight up, straight down. And it comes out beautifully. I really like that technique. This card I'll finish off with a sentiment, probably from Crazy Talk. One thing I did not mention yet with my previous card was how I clean them. This is Distress ink, so I just spritz it with water, grab a paper towel or baby wipe, and just wipe that ink off. It comes off very nicely. For the Memento ink, it doesn't come off with water. And I have a Stampin' Up! Stamp cleaner scrubber thing that I use. And this is stamp cleaner from Michaels that was very cheap. I buy a big bottle. And then I just can't find my stamp, of course. What did I do with it? Wherever it is, I'll find it and I'll just wipe it off on there because I want to keep my stamps nice and clean. The final technique that I want to share with you today is using a background stamp because it's kind of a unique thing. So this is a background stamp from Just Right. I don't think Cut It Home carries them, but they have lots of background stamps if you're interested in them. This is an enormous stamp. If it wasn't a background stamp, you can use your Cuttlebug plates for your Big Shot plates for your background stamps or your larger stamps. In this case, it came on this plastic, and so I just left it on there. And I'm going to take, instead of taking the stamp to the ink pad, I'm going to take the ink pad to the stamp. And this is Tim Holtz Distress ink in Victorian Velvet. And I'm just inking up the stamp really well, just kind of mushing it on there. And then instead of trying to stamp down onto the paper, I'm going to put the paper onto the stamp. And if you have an ink brayer, this is the perfect time to use it. I don't. And so I just rub around like this and make sure that I get that paper nice and inked up. And when I lift it up, you can see I missed the edge there a little bit, but you can get the idea of it. I did create a card using this technique. That is buried on my desk a little bit. Again, with the Heartfelt Creations Majestic Morning paper. I did this card, and I used the Marmalade Distress ink on the background, and that's Victorian Velvet in the foreground. These are Spellbinders feathers, peacock feathers, and this is a Spellbinders, I think it's called Splendid Circle, or I have it here. Let's see, what's the name of it? Circle Delight. Die cut that I used my Big Shot and cut, and then I just added some pearls and twine. I hope you enjoyed my stamping techniques today. Let me just make sure I covered all of them because I actually wrote them down in advance. So whenever you're using dies, you stamp first, then die cut. Washi tape is very good about holding the die down if you want it in a particular location. I use washi tape a lot for that. Straight up, straight down. Stamp positioners are excellent. The Big Shot plate is also excellent for those larger stamps. And I leave my background stamps on the desktop and then put the paper on top of them. And then you just need to make sure that your stamp is fully on the block. I think that's it. I thank you for watching. For more information on the products that I used or for more inspirational ideas, be sure to check out the Cut at Home blog at www.cutathome.com/blog. Stay crafty.